now with less explosions.
Still season 3.
Good evening, morning, afternoon, whatever you are. Hopefully you're having a wonderful day. This is YNB Collins.
And Brother Wolf here.
We're the Benchmark Podcast, where we try to take a little bit of life experience, a little bit of critical thinking, put it together and get a good answer, right? And one, do me a big favor. Please send a prayer out to Rev Ross. He's dealing with some family issues, so he's going to be away for a little while, but we all need a little bit of love, and he needs some right now. So please go ahead and pass it on to him. Keep him in your thoughts and your prayers. But with that said, I have a problem, so I'm going to implore my brother's help. He doesn't know what I'm asking, but I'm pretty sure I'll get solid advice from him. I would have preferred Rev Ross, not because Brother Wolf doesn't have good information, but because Rev Ross has been a bartender and he understands the more of the nuance, but having an outsider's point of view will probably help more. So the problem at hand is social capital. What do you do when you have a social responsibility but you do not agree with it? All my friends know I don't stand on bullshit well or at all, generally speaking. I'm the kind of person who will be one of the first people to run to help you when you fall, but I refuse to help the jackass who plays with fire and complains that they got burned. Do you think that's a fair assessment, Brother Wolf?
Yes.
So with that said, I'm caught between possibly losing social capital or compromising my morals and judgment. Now, mind you, I'm not opposed to synthesizing new information and adjusting these mores, norms, taboos, and morals if necessary. But I've rarely encountered the situation in which I need to relinquish my position. The long and short is that I've been invited to a wedding which I do not agree with. If I had to define my positions, number one, I am groom side. And number two, the wedding is not one I agree with in principle because I believe these two people are incompatible. So the concern that you'll have is simple. How do I know that they're incompatible? Let me give you an example. When they argue, it is bad. When I mean bad, I don't just mean like, oh, it's kind of, sort of, maybe a problem. It's bad. I've seen them two arguing, top of their lungs, and then the dude storms off, hands me money, and is like, make sure she gets an Uber home. I'm not dealing with this right now, and storms off. I've seen that more than once. Now, that's number one. Now, the other thing, and this is the one that really gets me, because everybody argues. Me and you have gotten to arguing before, so that don't mean I don't love you. That means we can't deal with the situation. And it could have been a one-time thing, but a one-time thing happening twice, you know what I mean? But the one that I really have a concern with is this, and this is where I need your input, I need your guidance. I cannot substantiate the claim, but there is a very high likelihood that she will try to have an anchor baby.
What kind of baby?
Anchor baby. I'm going to make sure to have a baby with him so he'll always be in my life. And it's one of those things where... Number one, let's go over the idea of an anchor baby. So the point being is that she has said, hey, it's very possible that I'm going to go ahead and have his baby and make sure I have his baby regardless. Now, it might have been said in jest or whatnot, but that's a concern I have. And I'm not doing it justice because the source at the time said, multiple times she said that, hey, you know, don't worry, we're going to have a baby. And were you joking? Were you not joking? I don't know. But that's a big concern to say out loud, you know? Like, you're going to go ahead and have his baby even though he says no? I mean, remember what happened with Drake and the hot sauce? That's why he did that. I mean, we can't argue booby trapping, but we can definitely see, we can read between the lines.
I mean, it's... playing a little bit of devil's advocate here, with Drake and the hot sauce thing, that was a woman who he did not wish to have any connections with. From what it sounds like, this gentleman is trying to have connections with this woman.
Yes.
And so that there is a difference in between that. I would say this. I don't know the situation, but oftentimes as we've all heard, there's a thin line between love and hate.
Yes, there is.
And oftentimes the people who we love the most are the people who we at certain times we hate their guts. Just being honest. That's how it happens.
I'm pretty sure you want to slap the shit out of me and vice versa.
Exactly. So with them, it is apparent that may be something that is going on, and we're not them. I'm definitely not them, and you aren't them, even though you're a lot closer to the situation than I am. It also would depend on how much you know the woman involved. If you don't know her that well at all, that would change my perspective slightly to if you knew her almost as well as you knew him. Because when you said earlier about you would call yourself on the groom side, that also makes it sound a little bit like there in some way she might think that you might even be her friend in a way. Not her best friend or one of her best friends.
I will say we're all friends, but it's one of those things where if battle lines had to be drawn,
you would choose him, and I
no,
get that.
incorrect. If battle lines are drawn, I am typically going to be groom side because I knew the groom first. I know of her because of the groom to be. Now, mind you, if you're in the wrong, you're in the wrong.
Right.
I don't care who you are.
Right. That's how you are. You're a decent enough moral compass on that. You are a good person in that regard. And
so if he did something wrong to her, I'd be like, nah, bro, you need to go ahead and make amends, apologize minimum.
Right.
So let me finish out my train of thoughts. I can give you all the information. So my concern is, number one, she said she was going to try and have a baby by him. And he made it abundantly clear he does not want to have children.
Okay.
So to me, that is a breach of trust and respect. Now, if it's a joke, and maybe I'm not seeing how you're playing, but I'm also getting this information secondhand. It's unsubstantiated. So therefore, I don't like how this is coming across to me. Because...
Has he ever said he said his exact words to you, he doesn't want to have kids?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so going through it, I'm trying to figure out what do I do here. How do I go ahead and let him know of this situation and of my concerns in a way that doesn't alienate me, and I maintain my friends, but also I don't compromise myself, because I do believe that once you start compromising, there's a difference between compromising yourself and compromising the situation. But if you consistently compromise yourself, there's no coming back from this. The slope is so slippery you'll never recover. So the point I'm getting at is this, and I'm posing this question to myself, my brothers, and I do hope Rev Ross gets to listen to this and he'll get back to me. And food for thought to our audience at large. Have you had a comparable situation where you have had two people at odds and somebody says something that is definitively counter or contraindicated to what somebody else has said? And if so, what did you do about it? What would you do in my shoes? Even though I disagree with the wedding in theory, should I go to the wedding and am I sacrificing my morals or the social capital, and which one should I be fine with? And more importantly, and this is the last thing, I did go up to this individual and say, hey, man, man to man, I've seen y'all argue. Are y'all good? Yeah, we worked through it. I'll say, look, man, because you've done this more than once. Yeah, man, whatever. I said, okay, cool. Well, I don't know how to go ahead and say, well, supposedly the chick you're about to be in love with wants to go ahead and do something. I don't know how to say that. So I said, hey, man, what are y'all doing about the baby front? I know you're not looking forward to having kids. What do you plan to do? He says, I'm going to have a vasectomy. I'm like, cool. But to me, if you don't want to have kids, why didn't you have one already? So I've done my diligence that way. Is there anything else I need to do? Or should at this point, I go to the wedding, take care of the free booze, and say I did my due diligence and I'm done? So that's what I'm throwing your way. Have you had something comparable? What would you do? Do I go to the wedding? Have I done my diligence? Hit me up. Let me know, what have I missed? Who do I talk to? Should I talk to the bride? Have another talk with the groom? Is that due diligence? Are there any social obligations that I might not be aware of? Because the friend who told me about her making those comments, I'm like, well, have you said anything? No, it's not my place. Then why'd you tell me this shit? That's messed up now. It's like you're trying to have action through inaction.
That's exactly what it is. Is they didn't have the courage to make that decision themselves, so they just decided to put the onus on another person. That's it's a common thing that people do.
And to be quite honest, I kind of don't like that guy too.
Right.
So the concern I have for you is this: how do I make this situation better for myself and him? Because my thoughts are, if I'm a good friend, I need to go ahead and make sure everybody has all the information. And if the information is erroneous, then I have nothing to worry about at all. I need to just shut the fuck up and move on.
So here's the question in which I pose. Is it more important for you to be right or for you to still be in these people's lives?
Define what right means, please.
So, if push comes down to shove, would you be happy with the fact that an I told you so situation happened?
Would I be happy with it? No, because I don't want it to happen in the first place. But I don't know if you were ever aware of this. One of my nicknames at one point was Cassandra for two reasons. Number one, I love the character from Soul Calibur 2, but more importantly, like the Greek prophet Cassandra, she was doomed to go ahead and have prophecies that would come true, but no one would listen. That's what an I told you so moment is. No one fucking listened to the good information. How does the song go? It's the good advice that you just didn't take. And who would have thought? It figures.
If you further were to input yourself into this situation, you endanger the possibility of not just losing one friend, which would be obvious, the one friend you would lose, but you could possibly lose both.
Mm-hmm.
And you might be right, but you would lose both. Oftentimes, social capital-wise, that is not a good outcome regardless. Morally, you would do what you thought was right, but that doesn't make it the best outcome for yourself.
So now at this point, you're trying to go ahead and...
Well, stop. Let me finish the train of thought.
Sorry.
It's okay. The point is that when you get in these situations, oftentimes you have this idea that, hey, I'm going to do this because this is the right thing to do. And if I do the right thing to do, everybody around me is going to, respect that as it being the right thing to do. And I did it right. The only person that's going to be mad at me is the one person who did wrong. But in life, most of the time, that isn't the way it happens.
Yes, I agree. I understand.
So the main goal is, I believe, with you showing him the what am I trying to think of? With you already expressing your concerns with the situation, you may have already did part of that thing. You have already made it known that you think this is not the best situation for him to get into. I don't think that he would doubt that.
So you're saying on a scale of yes to no, I have done my due diligence.
You've already, if 0 is doing nothing and 10 is doing absolutely everything, you've done a 6 right now. You're at a 6.
Okay.
If you were to kick it up to the higher you kick it up, the more chance that they would turn their struggle with each other towards you.
Okay.
And that's the thing is, as your brother, as your friend, I really don't see it as a positive moment for you to get more involved in that.
Okay. What I was about to get to, where I now see where you're going. I was about to go a different way. What I was going to say is this. Let's go ahead and change the story up a little bit. We have a friend. Let's say, for argument's sake, it's Rev Ross. And he's seeing this one chick, and we know unequivocally that there is a greater than 65% chance that the woman he's dating is cheating on him. Are we good friends if we say nothing? And if he finds out on the back end, would we still stay friends? Because it's the argument of the lie of omission. Is it still a lie? And that's what I'm getting at. Like, if I have the information, if it comes out on the back end that, let's say in the worst case scenario, she does go ahead and get pregnant by him, and he has to deal with all this, and things come to term, and you knew and you didn't tell me, and that's why I was thinking about what do I do on that case right there. So I'm looking at it both sides. Do I go ahead and say something or nothing? And because feelings are so volatile, it's possible that both situations are lose-lose anyway. So if it's going to be a lose-lose situation, wouldn't it be in my best interest to not compromise my morals anyway?
I mean, I don't think right now you're in a lose-lose situation. Actually, glass half full, glass half empty person, I think you're kind of almost in a win-win situation. Let me explain to you why. First situation, why you... If something were to happen right now, you've already expressed your conceptions about it. You've already expressed the issue that you have with it, right?
Okay.
So, if something were to happen, you are still in a position whereas I warned you. You aren't in a position where you outright told him, don't do this, which we all know. If you outright tell somebody don't do something, people are gonna do it. That's the way it is.
Yeah.
People are people.
Yeah.
And at the same point in time, if this works out for him in some kind of way, mysteriously, they wind up having a long relationship, which is highly doubtful based off of what you told me. But it isn't implausible because we've all seen similar situations happen. Then at the same point in time, you haven't outright gone against him and his wife's union, but you have said, I don't think it's the best look. So at my point, that's a win-win in your particular situation because you have still maintained being a friend with both of these people and have made your peace, and you've said what you had to say.
I'm glad you said it because one of the things I was arguing about with the other friend who told me the information was, well, when it gets time for when the minister, the reverend, whoever that says, speak now or forever hold your peace, is that just for show nowadays?
Yes, it is. I'm not gonna lie to you. Yes,
you're like him. Okay.
I'll agree with you. I mean, I'll agree. It is for sure these days. You say your piece before. You don't say your piece at that moment because at that point it's theatrical. At that point, you are turning a situation in which it should be about them and the two of them into a situation about you because you suddenly turned yourself into the thing, into the actual person of the wedding.
Okay, I'll take that argument, and like that's why I said, if I, my argument was if I believe so strongly about something, I'm going to do something about it, right? And as such, I believe strongly enough about it where I've already gone to him. I just want to make sure what am I missing, and I wanted to bring this to the podcast audience because I'm pretty sure somebody has something similar. Well, friend A and friend B were going at it, and you would call. Clowns to the left of me, jokers to the right.
Here I am stuck in the middle with you.
You know, it's one of those, I know this has happened before. And like I said, I'm not trying to go ahead and be an ass. I'm actually not. But I'm not going to go ahead and sacrifice my morals. So I want to make sure I've done everything I'm supposed to do. Have I said yes? I brought my situations up. Yes, there's nothing else to be done. Is this what you want to do? Cool. How else do I support you? I want to make sure I've done that stuff. And like I said, there might be something else that I'm missing. Like I said, it could have been completely possible. She said it in jest, but because I wasn't there to witness it, I don't get the right to make crass judgments on something.
Right.
You know?
And that's the overall thing of it is you're doing secondhand things. So it could always come back that, hey, you didn't hear that. Somebody else heard that. So why are you bringing it up to me? And all of that
Yeah,
other stuff.
like, you know, there's a lot of things I like, but things I don't like. Drama, being messy, no, that's not
Right.
That's not a good look. That's not cool. So this is why I was bringing it up, because I'm like, I know you as the elder brother would be like, look, I know your heart's in, the one quote I'll use all the time. I'm talking about the man behind the mask. Saint Bernard of Clairvaux, good intentions pave the road to hell. So I'm glad you were able to provide me information about a perspective saying, no, it's not lose-lose, it's win-win. You did what you were supposed to do. Is there anything else? So going down the list of questions I had, have I done my due diligence? You're saying yes. Do I go to the wedding? Yes. What would you do in my shoes? You've not given me nothing else different. Everything else is.
I would have done exactly what you did. Bring up the fact to him, say, hey, I don't think this is the best solution for you, but you are my friend. And if this is the path you want to go down, I will be your friend.
Okay. Cool. So now, just to make sure, have you had anything like this happen in your life?
Yes, I have.
Care to share, or just one of those let it go?
With my brothers, I've had similar situations that has happened. And I can say I believe I made the right move in all of those situations.
Okay. Fair enough. But no, it's frustrating because I'm like, man, I don't want the homie to be messed over. I don't want the homegirl to be messed over. Because what if she really, really, really wants the child and he doesn't? You're both setting yourself up for failure. You know what I mean?
I get that, but also at the same point in time, I am almost 1,000% sure that they have had this conversation about having kids. He still wants to be with her, which means it's still a possibility. She still wants to be with him, which means it's still a possibility. So at the end of the day, the actual importance of that decision for either one of them is not all the way. Like it's not a deal breaker for either one of them.
Fair enough. Like I said, I don't know that for sure, but I just said, hey man, I know you said you didn't want to do kids. What if you get? She's like, plan to do a vasectomy. I'm like, cool. All right, well, since you got a plan in place.
But he hasn't had a vasectomy yet, which means in his mind, there's still a small possibility that she might be right. And the fact that he's saying he wants to have a vasectomy means in her mind, there's a possibility that he might be right. So,
like I said, it's one of those,
Right.
And that's why I'm like, let me go ahead and get an outside perspective because I'm ruminating over this. I did at least, like I said, the due diligence, the bare minimum. And I wanted to make sure I've done that. And that way, when I rest my head tonight, Collins and the man behind the mask say, I was a good friend. That's what I'm looking for, to make sure at the end of the day, this real life situation was settled amicably.
I agree.
So with that said, is there anything I am missing in this situation?
No, I mean, I really think you've done your most. In that situation, I think it's closing time.
Fair enough. Well, with that said, Brother Wolf, thank you. Like, I specifically did not tell you about this because I wanted your raw and immediate reaction to it. But this has been something that's been going on in my head for a while, and I just didn't know how to address it. And I mean, I already did, but it's one of those: do I do more? Do I do less? How do I move in the future so that way, if it happens again, which it's very likely it will, I can take the right actions. You know what I mean? So, thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
So with that said, I'm hoping you guys don't have to do with the same foolishness I did. But if you do, here's part of a template on how you should do it. But with that said, this is YNB Collins.
Brother Wolf.
This is the Benchmark Podcast. We're closing out. We're hoping that you go ahead and don't have to make the hard decisions we had to. Good night, everyone.
Thank you for listening to the Benchmark Podcast, a product of Benchmark Media LLC. We'd like to remind our listeners that the views and opinions expressed are strictly the views and opinions of each individual and does not reflect the stance
really
of Benchmark
good
Media.
individuals.
Any opinion stated
And
is not to be
good
construed
ideas.
as professional advice or help. Our intro and outro music is The Icy Trumpet by Kevin McLeod. Listen under Creative Commons. Contact us at the Real Benchmark Podcast at gmail.com or our website, www.therealbenchmarkpodcast.com.
It's real.
Donate paypal.me/Benchmark Media LLC or Cash App at $The Real Benchmark.
Yeah.
Please don't buy him any more drinks. He doesn't need it right now.